Hello folks, J. Scott Phillips here and welcome to my channel. I've been tagged by a couple of other booktubers and I'm going to try to get this first one uploaded in time for Tag Tuesday this week. And I'll try to get to the next one in the next 2 or 3 days here if I'm lucky, across my fingers. Because this first one, I was tagged by MJ at Reading This Life 3, maybe probably more like 4 weeks ago already. So I'm just now getting around to tackling this one. But it is the eReader book tag, and it was originally created by Micah Cummins. And I'll leave links to both of their channels down below if you don't know them already. And I'd be surprised if you don't. But this is the eReader book tag to discuss habits and preferences of reading ebooks on e-readers versus reading regular books. And I guess I shouldn't say regular books, physical books. Those are regular books to me, but I guess we'll get into that. The first prompt here is in 3 parts. What was the first e-reader you ever owned? What was your reason for getting one? And were you a reluctant convert or an eager one? So part number 1, what was the first e-reader you ever owned? And that was this guy right here. This was, I had to go back on my Amazon account and look it up. I bought this in January of 2010, quite a while ago. And it was the Kindle Wireless with the 6-inch display. And when I first got this, I thought it was great. I really liked the you can see that it's not charged anymore. I never use this anymore, but I still have it. But I really liked the e-ink. Was that what they called it? The e-ink display. Didn't have a backlit monitor on it. It was just nice and clean, like reading a physical book. And I loved what they called the WhisperNet, which was their system of downloading things. I don't think I had Wi-Fi in the house back then. So the WhisperNet seemed to work regardless. Maybe like some kind of a cell phone technology, maybe. I'm not sure of all that. But it worked great. And I tried firing this up recently just to see if it would still work. And I can charge it, but I can't download anything on it anymore. It wants to link to my Wi-Fi, and it won't let me do that. WhisperNet, I guess, isn't really used anymore, unfortunately. But like I say, I went back and I looked up on my Amazon account to see when I bought this. And when that came up on my screen, I also saw what some of the books were that I bought. When I bought that, I wanted to have something to read on it right away. And so here are the books that I bought, the ebooks, my first ebooks that I bought, along with, I should say, this cost me $300 when I got it, and the case was $30. So it was a little bit of an investment. And that's why I wanted to get some books loaded up on it right away. And so I ordered, and I'll just run some of the covers through here for you to look at. I got Game Change by John Heilemann and Mark Halperin, and that cost me $8.61. And if I were to buy that ebook now, it would cost me $12.49. I also got Kindle Shortcuts by Aaron Steinhardt, which was 24 cents, and it's not even available anymore, probably because it would be completely obsolete by these days. I also got Star Trek Troublesome Minds by Dave Galanter for $6.39, and that now goes for $7.99. I got the complete works of William Shakespeare. I thought that would be great to have handy on an e-reader here for 99 cents. And that particular edition of it, the complete works of William Shakespeare and the ebook version that I got, is now no longer available. I'm sure there are other versions of the complete works of William Shakespeare, but not this particular one. Then I've always been a big Sherlock Holmes fan, so I had to get Sherlock Holmes, The Complete Collection by Arthur Conan Doyle, of course, 99 cents, and now this one is unavailable. I'm sure it's available in a lot of other versions and editions for e-readers, but not this particular one. And in fact, it's disappeared out of my collection on my e-readers. Don't know what happened there, but it's gone. And then I got Cape Refuge by Terry Blackstock. That was free. Now it would cost you $5.99 to get that book today, that ebook. And then I got Midshipman Bolitho by Alexander Kent. I was a big fan of the Blytho books back in college, and so I thought it would be kind of nice to have those books again in e-form. That cost me $7.99, and that's gone down to $5.99 now. Then I bought the Harry Bosch novels, and that was Black Echo, The Black Ice, and The Concrete Blonde, all by Michael Connelly, naturally, for $9.99. That was an omnibus of those first three novels, and now that's unavailable. I still have it on the e-reader though. And then finally, I got the Holy Bible, the American Standard Version, for 99¢, and it's still 99¢. So all of those books I got all at once there, so that by the time I got the Kindle in the mail, seems like it only took a couple days. They shipped that out pretty quick, as I recall, and I think they still do. But that was my first e-reader, and I still got it, just doesn't work anymore. And then the second part of the first prompt, what was your reason for getting one? And really, I just thought it seemed like a fun device. It seemed like something from Star Trek. I've heard some other people doing this tag mention the same thing. It's a gadget. It was just a new gadget, and it was specifically for reading, one of my favorite hobbies of all time. So how could I not get it? How could you not have gotten one? Just in order just to try it out and see if you were going to like it or not. Now, like I say, it was a $300 investment, so I was really sure I was going to like it. And it's paid off over the years, although I don't read it as much as I had expected to. I will get into some of that in the future prompts here. And then the third part of the first prompt is, were you a reluctant convert or an eager one? And I don't know if I was really either of those. I was just more curious than anything else. I didn't know if I was going to use it. I was hoping to. Like I said, it was a bit of a cost to me. But it was really curiosity more than anything else. It seemed like a new cool device was going to be the new thing, and I wanted to try it out. Also, I kind of figured and was hoping that it would be deductible, which it turned out to be in my line of work. The second prompt is a two-parter. What e-reader do you use now, and what e-readers do you own? Well, right now, I have this fairly new Kindle Oasis, and I like it quite a bit. It's black and white. The other one that I have that I still use once in a while is a Kindle Fire that I got several years ago. It was in color. It still is in color, which I really like the color screen. But at the time that I got it, I did not have a tablet of any kind. I had a desktop computer and a Kindle, an older Kindle, and I wanted to upgrade that, and I did not have a tablet. And I thought if I got this Kindle Fire, then that would kind of kill two birds with one stone. I would have that's not it. I would have this color version here and be able to use it as a tablet as well. But I found that I wound up just using it as a tablet, and I didn't really use it to read books on, which was sort of the point of having it, really. But it saved me some money for getting a tablet at the time. I've since gotten an iPad, which I use as a tablet all the time, use it for work and for home, and I'm shooting this video on it right now. But I think I prefer just the Kindle here, the Oasis, that is just for books. I don't get distracted by other apps and other things calling for my attention. Just can curl up with this thing and just read a book. Now, I don't use it so much for reading books for pleasure as much as I expected to. I really use it more often for magazines and for books that I want to download quickly that I'll use for research or reference. And one of the reasons that I don't really use it for reading so much, I think, is because it's so wide that I'll usually, whenever I'm traveling around during the course of my day, going on errands and things, or what have you, I'll have a book with me, and a paperback book. The old mass market paperback books are what I prefer. And this just doesn't really fit handily in a pocket. I don't carry a backpack or anything. I just will generally put a paperback book in my back pocket or something, and it's flexible enough that if I sit down or something, it's not going to wreck it. So that's a little bit of a problem with this square shape for me. However, as I was getting ready to do this video here and I was going through the prompts and was thinking about some of the things that bother me about this and being the width, is it occurred to me that I thought that there was an all-new smaller Kindle that was just 6 inches. And so I looked that up, and it's only a little more than 4 inches wide, which is about the width of a paperback, and it's a 6-inch screen. So very mass market sized. So I went ahead and bought one of those, and it should get here in a couple of days, and then we'll see if that solves the width problem of this and carrying it around. Just going about my business during the day might be a little more handy, and then hopefully I will read it more often. So that'll be great. I'll look forward to getting that. Prompt number 3 is, do you read digitally on multiple devices or always on the same device? And it's exclusively on the Oasis now since I got this when I'm reading digitally. I still probably prefer to read for pleasure on physical books, but if I'm e-reading, then it's the Oasis. I still have the Fire, and it still works kind of, but as it's gotten older, I've got to get really close to my Wi-Fi in order for it to download anything, and then it's very sluggish. Or if I'm using the tablet portions of it, if I'm going online just to use the browser, very sluggish. And on top of that, as it's gotten older, it's not holding its charge for very long. It just saps itself really quickly. Always having to keep this thing. I just have to keep it plugged in all the time. Whereas this holds a charge for a really long time. This will go for a week or two or more sometimes, as often as I use it. It never really lets me down too much. Then the part of this question here was, or you're always on the same device. So sometimes when I'm out, like I say, this is difficult for me to carry around casually or comfortably very often. So if I do find myself wanting to read something digitally, I'll just default to my iPhone, and I'll read something on that from time to time. Don't do that too often. If I got the phone out, then I'm messing around doing other stuff on the thing that is not reading, checking the news or whatever's on. It just, I should be reading, but that's a problem with the iPhone. But when I get that new Kindle here in a couple of days, I'm hoping that becomes my portable little buddy there, and can take books around if I don't have the paperback anymore. I'm a little concerned about how fragile it is, because like I say, a paperback I can stick in my back pocket and I don't have to worry about sitting on it and breaking anything. We'll see, but I still think it will be a lot more comfortable to tote around that new little Kindle. So I'm looking forward to that. Prompt number 4, do you still read physical books? If so, how do you decide which format to read a certain book in? And yes, I still read physical books. Lots of reasons for that. One, like I was talking about, the portability of just the good old mass market paperback. Although they don't publish those so much anymore. If you get a trade paperback now, then I'm back to the problem that I have with the size of the Oasis here. But I'll decide to read the Kindle more often if, like I said earlier, if I'm downloading something that I want to read quickly for reference or for research or something, and it's available as an ebook, I'll just download it. Usually the prices are cheaper for things like that, and I can get my hands on it if I can't wait to get a physical book in the mail. Or if it's a newer book, I find that I'll buy newer, more contemporary books more often as an ebook, because maybe you know by watching my channel that I really like book cover art. And modern, more contemporary books don't often have book cover art that I'm too concerned with actually having a physical printed color version of it. The ebook black and white here on the Oasis is just fine. I use the Kindle a lot for magazines. I like to subscribe to Analog, science fiction, Asimov science fiction, and the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, as well as a few other magazines that are probably a little more mundane. But those just get delivered instantly. Oh, the New Yorker is one. I get the Atlantic. The subscriptions, the e-subscriptions, are fairly reasonable, and they don't stack up. Like magazines tend to just stack up, and then you have to decide, do you want to keep them, and if so, where are you going to store them and all that. That's one great advantage of this, of course, that a lot of people talk about, is that you can have so many books in one tiny little place. And magazines really are great on this. That's probably when I do read for pleasure, the magazines really it is the most handy for me. Then, of course, the price. Sometimes I'll buy an ebook just because it's a lot cheaper than a printed book. Although they seem to have been hiking up in price over the years, and sometimes I just don't understand why an ebook costs so much when they're not having to print anything physical or ship anything. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I guess there's still royalties involved somewhere. Prompt number 5 is, what is something you dislike about reading ebooks? And one of the basic things for me is that an ebook lacks the warmth of a physical book or of a collection or a library of physical books. I like to be surrounded by books, and I've got books in every room in the house, and they just have a warmth that just adds to the environment of comfort and warmth in a home for me. If I didn't have any of these books throughout the whole house and had them all perfectly stored away as ebooks, that would be great. Still a perfectly fine way of reading them and enjoyable. You can really get into the books and all that. But will never have the warmth. These are kind of cold reads to me. One of the things I like to do, like I mentioned, is I like to carry books with me, and they'll often get banged up, dog-eared, the spine broken, coffee spilled on them, whatever it might be. And I feel like whatever damage the book might go through as I'm reading it and carrying it around with me, I'm going through it with that book. And if I toted this around, which I'll probably do more often once I get this new little Kindle here, if I do put this in my back pocket, I sit on it, I crack the screen or something, or if I break some of the circuitry in it or something, I've got to get rid of it and replace this. I'll still have all the old books still in my ebook library, but there's not going to have the warmth, the durability, there's a spirit to that book that becomes a friend of mine, a physical book. Whereas these are just going to be books, digital ones and zeros through the cyber world of this book here, not ever going to have that kind of warmth for me. Then another kind of a more practical thing, I think, is that when it comes to books that are older books or books that may have fallen into the public domain and have been scanned or retypeset or something, you can get them for $1 or free. Or if it's a self-published book, maybe, that someone themselves, they've edited their own book themselves. These kinds of books are often full of typos and errors, and the paragraph breaks and things are clunky, and it just often breaks the spell. I've come across so many ebooks like that. Not so much with the properly edited books and more contemporary or professionally put together ebooks, but it happens often enough that it's just irritating, and I don't care for that so much. But probably the number one thing that, if you think about this, you will realize that there's something evil about an ebook. And that is if you watch Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek fan. And I've just noticed that every time One of the good guys is reading. It's a physical book. And whenever you see a bad guy reading a book, it's a damn ebook. It's on that damn monitor. And I don't trust those guys, and neither should you. So what side are you gonna join up on? Now, you might think, well, what about Khan Noonien Singh's bookshelf of paperbacks, of classics that he had with him from the old Botany Bay? But if you think about it, the Botany Bay was launched in the 1990s, way before there was any such thing as an e-reader or a Kindle of any kind. So he had no choice but to cart around a bunch of physical books. Once he got on the Enterprise in Space Seed, he was an ebook reader. So let that be a lesson to you. Just a word of caution. Prompt number 6. Would you ever ditch physical books completely and become a sole ebook reader? If yes, why? And if no, why not? Well, obviously the answer is no. I would never ditch physical books completely. For all the reasons I mentioned earlier. But probably more importantly is that I would think this would be true for anybody, is that there are just so many books that are not available as ebooks. And in my case in particular, probably half my library are books that are not for reading pleasure. They're reference books or art books or some other kind of books that I'll use for research, those kinds of things. A lot of nonfiction, encyclopedic kind of things, although you don't really need encyclopedias anymore, but there are certain types, series of books that are encyclopedic in nature, but maybe focus on a specific subject that you're just never going to find as an ebook. So there's that. So no, you've got to have physical books, and that will probably last for quite a while. Prompt number 7 is, where do you get your ebooks? Kindle store, library loans, third-party websites? Well, this is a simple one for me. So far, every ebook that I've ever gotten has been through Amazon, the Kindle store. And that includes my magazine subscriptions, also subscribed through Amazon. So far, it's been all Amazon all the time. Now, speaking of Amazon, you might be wondering, if you're familiar with my channel at all, you might be asking yourself, how has this guy gotten this far into a video without talking about any artwork at all? Well, like I say, speaking of Amazon, there is the Amazon Kindle logo. And let's just talk about that real quick here before we wrap it up. The Amazon Kindle logo type is made up of 2 parts, which you can see pretty easily here. The first part, the Amazon logo itself, was created back in 1998 by the Turner Duckworth Agency. And they've done a ton of branding and logo work over the years for corporations such as Subway Sandwiches, Little Caesars, Coca-Cola, Levi's, Campbell Soups, and even Metallica, the heavy metal band. So back in 1998, Jeff Bezos wanted to update the Amazon logo. So he went to Turner Duckworth and told them that up until then, Amazon has been selling books, but from now on, they want to sell everything from A to Z. So the agency came up with the smile logo. They modified the Amazon lettering a little bit and added that smile to connect the A and Z together. And then years later, when Amazon was coming out with its eReader, they tapped husband and wife branding team Karen Hibma and Michael Patrick Cronin, and they recommended the name Kindle to suggest that spark of enlightenment created by reading. And they came up with a specialized, lighter font than the Amazon font, kind of based on a Bliss Regular. And that font was designed by Jeremy Tankard. And it pairs nicely with the bolder Amazon font. They picked up the golden color of the smile for the lighter weight Kindle, and that kept the Amazon brand strong, and Kindle was represented then as a proprietary product. And then there's the extended version that you might be more familiar with, and that's the artwork that's used as the app icon itself and for the splash screen when you first turn the Kindle on. And the idea here is that it shows the little boy reading under a tree. He's reading his Kindle. And the colors, the dark blues, are supposed to suggest to you that the little boy has lost himself in his book and he's not even aware that night is approaching. Now, there are a lot of other e-readers out there, all with their own logos. And one of those might well be your favorite rather than a Kindle. But I'm a Kindle guy, so that's the logo story you get from me. Now, the final prompt, number 8, is tag some fellow booktubers. Now, I'm not really sure who or who doesn't use an e-reader, but just to find out here, I'm going to call out Science Fiction Reads, and I'm going to tag Revenant Reads. And I'm also going to tag Bart J. Gilbertson. Turnabout is fair play. He's the second booktuber that tagged me here recently, and he just created his own book tag over the weekend that he's calling the Great Hitchcock Book Tag, and it looks like a lot of fun. So, Bart, I'm going to get to that one in the next few days here, and so we'll have some fun with that. Now, there you have it. So I want to thank again MJ at Reading This Life, and I apologize, MJ, for taking so long to get to this book tag, but hopefully better late than never. And also want to thank Micah Cummins for creating the book tag in the first place. So be sure to check out their channels. And until we meet again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks a lot.